Gonna be bad. And it's not gonna be bad because of anything the people making it did. In fact, I think this is one of the first live actions that were done by Americans that seems to be in good faith. Sure, it's gonna do really well the first couple of weeks, because in this world, popularity is key. Talent and creativity are optional.
Well, little chonks, I guess I was wrong, is what I would like to say, but as usual, I was right, for the most part. So over the weekend, me and my friends threw a little get-together to watch the live-action One Piece on Netflix. And if you watch my previous videos, you know I didn't have high expectations, but I was still willing to give Netflix a fair shake to see what they would do with One Piece. And it was not good. I have a hard time saying the show was bad because there were so many good things about the show, but there was one thing that they really messed up on that you just can't, that makes the show bad. Now, before I get to that, I would like to mention all the good things that they did. Obviously, the biggest one was all the set design, the character design, especially the character design. I like that they really went for what was in, the manga and the anime as much as they could. Obviously, they had to change some few things because Oda draws freaks. But you can tell there was a real effort to put as many of Oda's characters as they could into this as they looked in the manga or in the anime. The casting of the characters, for the most part, was pretty good. There were a few, odd choices for certain characters, but for the most part, nothing really, egregious or just outrageous. And I felt they had more really, really good casting choices than they did bad ones, especially for the main characters. And the acting, for the most part, was in the same boat where, there were a couple, flat performances, but for the most part, they were all pretty good, and they had some pretty standout ones. The fight scenes and the action scenes were, I think, the part where I felt the most confused about this show, whereas they had a bunch of really, really, really good, great action fight scenes, but for just as many good action scenes they had an equal amount of terrible, god-awful ones. They would come from scenes where, Zoro would be doing some cool swords work, and just, nice camera work, all choreographed and looking great. And then they would just flip to men just standing there waiting to get cut in half. and there was just a lot of that. If I can make 20 free throws, but I also miss 20 free throws, that's not a good average. Also, this was a minor thing, but the music in the show was terrible as well. And which is weird because you have a show that already has good music. Why didn't you just use that? The whole soundtrack sounds like royalty-free music that I would use because I'm poor and can't afford to pay for music. Why didn't you just use the music from the anime? You already have it. I'm sure some rights or something stupid. But here's where we get to what makes the show bad. Now, I'm not going to sit here and complain about all the changes that they made because obviously, you have to make changes, not just for the runtime, but just in general. Things that work in animation will never work in live action. So you have to make changes, and for the most part, it really doesn't matter, and I really didn't care. Except for, what the fuck is on Luffy's feet? Are these shoes? They look like they're made of plastic. Why are they ginormous? What is this, Kingdom Hearts? No, the real reason that this show is bad, and it is bad, is purely the writing. Something that has been a crux for a bunch of shows and movies and stories where the writing is just god-awful. And let me tell you, the writing in the One Piece Netflix is atrocious. I tried my best to look the other way. As a fan of One Piece, I tried my best to look the other way as much as possible. But man, after the second episode, oh my goodness. The dialogue, the plot, not appropriately being able to apply setups and payoffs was just, oh my gosh. The dialogue scenes were the hardest to get through, especially in the first couple episodes. It almost reminded me of watching a beginner's course of improv where there's a lot of empty, dead airspace as they're trying to figure out what to say. And it's also as if they're not talking to each other. They're mostly just giving their own individual dialogues, which was just, ugh. And I don't want to give too many spoilers because if you're a fan of the show, I'm not going to say not watch it. Go ahead, have at it. But there was just so many plot hole inconsistencies that didn't make sense. And again, I'm not talking about like, oh, they changed the story. I don't care about that. I don't care if they rewrote One Piece. That's not what I'm talking about. I'm just talking about bare bones, basic high school writing competency could not be achieved. But there was a lot of like, wait, how did this person get here? Wait, what is happening? Why are they just standing there waiting to get their next turn to get beat? Why are they acting like human beings in one moment and then not acting like human beings in another to progress this weak and feeble plot? Okay. And yeah, and as many holes as there are the plot, it's really the dialogue. The dialogue was, oh my goodness. It sucks because they did so many other really good things. And like I said in my previous video, it really seems like the people that made this actually cared about the show. Not like, you know, the Cowboy Bebop remake where they clearly did not care. But writing is literally the backbone of any story. And so if you have bad writing, it doesn't matter how good everything else is. You have a bad show, you have a bad movie, or you have a bad story. Unfortunately for the live action One Piece, it is bad purely because of the writing. But there it is, and despite all the One Piece fans watching 1 second of it and then immediately going, oh, the cure is broken, it's so good, which we always knew was going to happen regardless of the end product, it is bad. It is not a good show. But that doesn't mean I don't recommend it. If you're a One Piece fan, I recommend just watching it purely for the set designs and stuff. They're really cool. And I do think the show is successful, as in, not that it's good, but I think it will succeed in its ultimate goal, which is to get people to either watch the One Piece anime or better, read the manga. That was definitely the ultimate goal of this whole Netflix series. Just like in Japan, where they only make one season of an anime, it's to get people to go spend money on the manga and what other products they sell from the IP. So in that regard, I feel like the One Piece Netflix live action will be successful in that it will get people to go to other One Piece products like the anime, the manga, whatever. I mean, it did it for me. I went back and watched the original like beginning of One Piece because it had been decades since I'd last seen it. And it reminded me to catch up on One Piece. Settle down, I stopped on episode 1000. But I didn't realize 74 episodes had already gone by, which is great. I know exactly what I'm going to be watching for the next week. But there it is. We all saw it, the One Piece live action. Now on to the next consumable product.